The world watched in stunned silence. On December 15, 2025, during the FIFA World Cup, the US government enacted an unprecedented measure. Celebrations in host cities across North America fell silent. Fans who had traveled thousands of miles were left stranded and confused. Broadcasters cut from live match analysis to breaking news alerts. The joyous spectacle of global unity was abruptly paused by its primary host. This was a geopolitical act with immediate, catastrophic financial consequences. Social media exploded with outrage and confusion. The global celebration was suspended, replaced by a billion-dollar question mark. The Emergency Stadium Security and Public Safety Act, known as the Safe Stadium Act, was signed on December 15th, suspending all World Cup matches in the US indefinitely. Citing credible threats to major sporting venues, the order nationalized security at all 11 US host stadiums, overriding FIFA and local agreements. The decision was made without consulting Canada, Mexico, or FIFA, creating a diplomatic rift. Officials admitted the security review would take weeks, freezing the tournament and leaving the football world in shock. The decision on December 15th was the result of months of escalating geopolitical tensions and security concerns. Throughout fall 2025, US intelligence issued urgent warnings about potential attacks on Western interests, with the World Cup identified as a prime target. In late November, cyber attacks probed the logistical infrastructure of several US host cities, traced to a hostile hacker collective. This elevated the threat from theoretical to active, prompting a surge in security resources. Around December 12th, a critical piece of intelligence detailed a credible plot to attack stadiums during the knockout stages. The threat was sophisticated, well-funded, and aimed at causing mass casualties. The specificity, multiple locations, simultaneous attacks, forced the administration's hand. In the final 72 hours, emergency meetings were held, and a final warning confirmed the plotters were in the last stages of preparation. The government weighed its options: attempt a covert operation or suspend the tournament. Fearing failure and backup plans, they chose maximum precaution. The Safe Stadium Act was drafted overnight and signed the next day. Security took precedence over the continuity of the World Cup. The fallout from the Safe Stadium Act rippled through a vast web of stakeholders. For FIFA, the suspension was a catastrophic blow to credibility and finances, threatening billions in revenue from broadcasting, sponsorships, and licensing. The host cities, 11 in the US, plus those in Canada and Mexico, faced massive losses after investing heavily in infrastructure and expecting economic windfalls. Hotels, restaurants, and temporary workers were hit hardest as fan zones emptied and local businesses lost out on a once-in-a-generation boom. Global sponsors and broadcasters like Coca-Cola and Fox saw their expensive campaigns and programming rendered useless, triggering legal and financial chaos. The value of multi-year contracts with FIFA was called into question, leading to frantic renegotiations. National teams and millions of fans were left in limbo, their dreams and investments shattered by a decision beyond their control. Many fans lost life savings on travel and tickets, stranded with no recourse. The emotional toll was immense, eroding trust between supporters and organizers. The suspension set a dangerous precedent for all future international events. The Safe Stadium Act threw a wrench into the finely tuned engine of World Cup commerce. The projected US economic impact was over $11 billion. The suspension caused an immediate failure in broadcasting, sponsorship, and tourism. Market analysts estimated direct losses between $5 and $7 billion, with indirect costs still climbing. Broadcasters who paid $3.2 billion for TV rights saw contracts breached and advertising revenue vanish overnight. Sponsorship deals worth $2 billion were devastated, triggering penalty clauses and massive rebates. Stock prices for major sponsors dipped sharply, reflecting wasted marketing spend and uncertainty. Host cities lost billions in projected tourism and hospitality revenue as 1.5 million expected visitors canceled plans. Hotel occupancy in cities like Miami and LA plummeted, hitting small businesses the hardest. Restaurants, taxis, and souvenir shops faced empty streets and mounting bills. The domino effect of cancellations rippled through every layer of the local economy. The World Cup's financial ecosystem was left in ruins. The economic pain was concentrated in the 11 U.S. host cities, each facing a localized financial crisis. Cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Dallas suffered the most, having invested heavily in stadium upgrades and infrastructure. Dallas alone projected a $900 million impact. But over 80% of hotel bookings were canceled within 48 hours, losing $150 million in lodging revenue. San Francisco's tech-driven plans for fan experiences and smart city showcases became sunk costs. Small businesses, from Napa Valley wineries to Fisherman's Wharf restaurants, were left with empty tables and unpaid bills. Miami, expecting huge crowds and a $700 million boost, saw its tourism-dependent economy devastated. Investments in public art, bilingual services, and security became losses overnight. The city's reputation as a global event host took a major hit. Across all host cities, the dream of a global spotlight turned into a fiscal nightmare. The suspension left a trail of broken contracts and shattered local economies. In the aftermath, a war of words erupted alongside the financial crisis. The U.S. government stood firm, citing clear intelligence and an unacceptable risk. The president declared safety the top priority, with no apologies for the decision. A declassified intelligence summary described the threat as complex and credible. FIFA responded with disappointment and legal fury, questioning the necessity of a complete suspension and preparing a multi-billion-dollar claim for breach of contract. Independent auditors estimated immediate direct losses at $6.2 billion, including $1.8 billion in broadcasting rebates and $900 million in sponsorship penalties. Host city economies lost $2 billion, with verified losses from canceled contracts and refunded tickets. Canada and Mexico issued joint statements expressing regret and confirming their own matches would be postponed. The Mexican and Canadian football federations reported combined losses of nearly $1 billion. The shockwave from the U.S. decision crippled the entire North American effort. The data painted a grim picture of unprecedented financial damage. The financial carnage was only the beginning. The Safe Stadium Act exposed a vulnerability in hosting international events. Sovereign governments can override any contract in the name of national interest. This crisis of confidence has made future hosts and sponsors wary, adding a new layer of political risk. FIFA has responded by creating a sovereign risk assessment committee and drafting new host agreements with clauses for unilateral government action. Insurance costs for mega events have skyrocketed, now covering political disruptions as well as traditional risks. Sponsors and broadcasters demand enhanced insurance, making hosting more expensive and less accessible. Trust between fans, organizers, and host nations has been deeply eroded. The 2026 World Cup, meant to unite, will be remembered for chaos and broken promises. Fan groups now demand greater transparency and financial protections. The lesson is clear: sport can never be fully insulated from global politics. As the dust settles, the World Cup's most turbulent chapter leaves a landscape of financial ruin and shattered trust. The crisis exposed the fragility of global sporting spectacles. One sovereign decision can halt a multi-billion-dollar event. Billions in losses, diplomatic rifts, and a crisis of governance have forced a reckoning in international sport. The incident was a real-world stress test, revealing critical failures at every level. Future events will face higher costs, stricter scrutiny, and greater risk premiums. Hosting may become the domain of only the wealthiest, most stable nations. The fundamental question now: how can future World Cups prepare for unpredictable geopolitical and economic shocks? The world will continue to face unforeseen disruptions, and global celebrations will always be vulnerable. Legal agreements and financial models failed to prevent this crisis. The predictable world they were built for no longer exists. The future of global sport depends on learning from this unprecedented disruption.